Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. So I've got you guys an update on some Arctic air that is going to be entering the United States and actually has begun to enter the United States getting into this weekend. We're talking about a few big winter storms coming up as well. I've got you guys a very, very big update on all this very active weather in the United States. All right, so take a look here at your current radar. And I just want to start off by saying I'm sorry for not uploading in the past few days. I did upload a video today, but it was just one by down by the coast. I was just very busy, and so I'm back with you guys tonight on an update on a few big winter storms that will move through the United States and just a lot of active weather coming up. But we've got three things that we're dealing with right now. One, you've got an upper level low that's kind of attached to the system that's been moving out since yesterday, and we see a big lake effect snowstorm that's starting to impact areas along the Great Lakes. This has been just pounding Buffalo with rounds of snow and snow and snow, and so a lot of people out in the Buffalo area have been just telling us that in the weather community just that it's been just round and round of snow and thunder snow as well. There are bands, the heaviest bands and the most intense bands of this lake effect snow. All right, that's where you're gonna have the thunder snow embedded with it. You may even see lightning if it is strong enough. All right. Second thing, you've got more snow back here. This is still holding those blizzard warnings up for portions of Iowa. This is all moving off to the east. It's not going to be as intense, but I think we're going to see snow squalls tomorrow in the Northeast. We're going to be talking about that in a minute. Third thing, you've got a big storm system coming through the Pacific Northwest. We're going to be talking about that as well. I'm not going to leave you guys out. We're talking about snowfall totals with that one because that is a doozy. All right, and we just got a lot of winter weather coming up, and we may see snow in the Southern U.S. We're going to talk about that as well. So it's going to be a big snow day, just in this update, and it's going to be a big snow weekend. All right. So taking a look here at your current alerts, all right, you can see that we'll start in the north, just this massive blue shade. I mean, or this massive area that's in this blue shade. It's like this lightish, like just it's just this blue shade, I guess, if you want to put it, if you want to put it like a blue mixed with white. All right, it's right where my mouse is. This is all of Montana. All right, all of the Dakotas going down through Minnesota, Illinois, into Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, northern Texas, Oklahoma, eastern Colorado, portions of Wyoming, all the way out to Washington State. This is a massive wind chill warning, guys. This is because of the Arctic blast is finally here. I've been talking about this for so long now, and I'm actually happy with myself because I was right. Well, the models were right as well. All right, I don't want to just go crazy all over that, but the main point is that big blast is here, and we did not underestimate it, and we're already seeing those dangerous wind chills. This is where wind chills could really just cause life-threatening conditions out there. In this orange shade, you still do have blizzard warnings going out for areas of northwestern Iowa into southeastern South Dakota. So, something to watch definitely there. But I think that snow is going to be pulling out. I think it's just going to be light snow from now on. All right, in this like light blue shade, all right, or if you want to put it at teal, you've got wind chill advisories. So I think some of these areas will be upgraded to a wind chill warning, but it's basically for the surrounding areas that wind chill warning that goes out for portions of Ohio, Indiana, into southern Missouri, surrounding areas of that wind chill warning in Oklahoma, and then portions of central Texas, all right, up towards Michigan and Minnesota. All right, I think Minnesota's going to actually see the cooler temperatures from this, so I think that soon. I think by tomorrow morning they should be upgraded to wind chill warnings. All right, you've got winter storm warnings. This is crazy, guys. You got winter storm warnings for the entire state of Arkansas. Have you ever heard of a winter storm warning for Arkansas? All right, I know there's a lot of winter weather lovers out there in the South. All right, and I'm rooting for you guys. I think this one's going to be a banger for some of you guys. You got winter storm warnings going out for portions of Arkansas into western Tennessee, northern Mississippi. Guys, we just saw a severe weather outbreak in this area. It's crazy that we're now talking about snow and a snowstorm. All right, but you've got portions of northern Louisiana and far northeastern Texas all in that winter storm warning. That's in your pink shade. All right, in this like darkish blue shade, these are your winter storm watches going out for the rest of Tennessee, northern Alabama through central Mississippi. All right, this is including Rolling Fork. Um, but yes, this is going to be a substantial winter storm, and you also do have in this purple shade winter weather advisories going all the way out into portions of central Texas. And then in this purple shade, this is where things get a little, tricky here. We have hard freeze warnings, or these might be ice storm warnings. We'll click here. We can see. I believe these. Yep, this is a hard freeze warning. All right, this is for the DFW area. All right, we are seeing a what we call a Arctic snap, and that's what we're dealing with, basically because of these wind chill warnings. So we have warm air that's coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, but and basically that's where you get the moisture and the precipitation, but then the cold air is just going to come in right after that storm, and everything that's wet on those roadways or just any surface is just going to freeze over, and that's what we're going to be dealing with across the deep south. So yes, this will definitely be a very impactful winter storm for many areas out here. All right, in the west, we still got a massive mess. We're still in with the jumble of winter storm warnings for all of Oregon into southern Idaho, portions of Utah, into areas just to the west of the Rockies there. All right, but yeah, the west is just dealing with this, similar warnings and watches and warnings that we've been dealing with in the past few days, but you've got flood warnings actually going out for areas of the northwest coast of California. All right, so that's something definitely to watch. All right, into the northeast. All right, in this golden brown shade, some areas here are actually under high wind warnings up into upstate New York. Just around that, you've got wind advisories. All right, we're dealing with very, very gusty conditions along with that very heavy snow. You can see winter storm warnings going out for upstate New York along the the Great Lakes, just because you got that lake effect snowstorm impacting right now. All right, so that took a very long time to get through those alerts. So let's get rocking and rolling right here. All right, we're starting out here with the northwestern United States. So I'm looking at the 12Z NAM from today just because I want to show you guys the entirety of this event. We're talking about a big winter storm that's entering the United States through the Northwest. We've been dealing with very dangerous conditions from what I've seen out here. I'm not, out in the Northwest, but just looking at the models, it's looking very, very dangerous. All right. So starting out here, this was the story 10 a.m. today. You've got very heavy snow in some areas here of Oregon into upstate California. All right. You've got, very heavy mountain snow in this area, but even surrounding areas will definitely see heavy snow from this. But notice this, you've got freezing rain, a band of freezing rain moving into portions of northwestern Oregon. That's something to watch, and I think that did grow in the throughout today, because remember, this was this morning. But notice how that very heavy snow continues to expand, and everybody out there into really the majority of Oregon is seeing that snowfall that's mixing into northern Nevada, but you've got very heavy rain coming onshore into California. We've seen flash flood warnings in this area. We still have flash flood warnings. I think we may see some very, heavy excessive rainfall possible in this area, but you got a massive storm coming in, 990 millibar low. You've got a nasty ice storm for areas of northwestern Oregon. I'm still watching that band of freezing rain and sleet that's mixing in with snow and rain as we get through the evening hours of today. All right, let's take this out to where we are now. This is an hour from now. At this point, most of the precipitation has changed over to snowfall, but you still got a lot of heavy rain on the coast here into California and into the coast of Oregon. You still got a little bit of freezing rain and sleet left, but it's not as intense as it used to be and it was today. All right, but this is definitely something that I'm watching. This big band of snow. This is going to cause widespread snow totals. And I'm telling you guys, I think if this continues to expand, somebody could get a foot out here, maybe even more if you're in the upper elevations of any of these areas. This is going to be a big one for areas in the west, and this just areas in the west. All right, but this just continues to move off to the east here, and then it's moving with this low. You still got heavy snow for these upper elevations of Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, southern Idaho, and then to Nevada, and then this is by tomorrow. This is wee morning hours of tomorrow. You've got heavy snow now moving towards Arizona and New Mexico, but that'll be all the snow will be moving out of the region. It'll kind of be falling apart as this system moves off to the east. All right. So taking a look here, we're looking at your current snowfall totals, and it's really it's looking pretty intense. We're going for 2 feet of snow in this little band here. This little area here. The stripe of snow going all the way up from northern Oregon down through southern Oregon. It's in this red and orange in this orange shade of snow just that we're seeing here. I just want to take a look here. 36 inches of snow, guys. We're talking about 3 feet of snow in the mountains there of Oregon. That is ridiculous. I think we might see similar totals in all of anybody in these upper elevations that gets hit by the core of the system could really be dealing with feet of snow. Multiple feet of snow is possible, but in this entire shade, we're talking about at least a foot to a foot and a half of snow. But you can see everybody else in Oregon, even the areas that aren't in the upper elevations, we're still talking about 8 to 10 inches of snow. Somebody out here is still going to get a foot, even if you're not in the upper elevations. But if you're on the coastline, you're going to stay as rainfall because that warm air is just too intense there. All right. But you can see into northwestern Oregon, we see that potential for snow. I think that this will most likely be freezing rain, but the NAM is still going for up to a foot of snow in this area. All right, now going into California, we're talking about Northern California seeing a foot to 2 feet of snow. All right, but down through the Sierras, typical snow, 1 to 2 feet. I mean, I know it's pretty crazy thinking about 1 to 2 feet, but guys, these are the mountains of the Western U.S. This is I think that this is definitely above average to see 3 feet of snow, maybe a little bit over for the areas of Oregon, the upper elevations. But 1 to 2 feet of snow with the winter storm coming in for the upper elevations of California, the Sierras, that's normal. That's typical mountain snow. All right, but you could see similar totals as in Oregon, and then now into Nevada, we're actually seeing those upper elevations getting over a foot and maybe up to 2-3 feet of snow possible there. All right, but notice how we see more of a widespread rather than like a very isolated band, just signal for snow out there into Idaho. You can actually see really everybody out there is going to see 3 to 6 inches, I would say, but some areas will definitely see a higher amount, especially over to Oregon, where if you're in the southwestern portion of the state, you may actually end up with around a foot of snow. All right, but this will continue drifting over through northern Utah. We're still talking about a foot to 2 feet of snow, and then off obviously into the Rockies. We're going to be dealing with the typical mountain snow there as well. All right, so that's going to be it for that storm in the Pacific Northwest. Now we talk about here this massive lake effect snowstorm, which I really think is just focused right here on Buffalo. All right, so we're looking at the National Weather Service forecast office out of Buffalo, New York. They do a excellent job on these forecasts here. But this is their overall graphic here that we can see, and so we're going to be talking about totals and impacts on just looking at this. Well, make myself a little bit smaller so you can see it. All right, so we'll start out here with impacts. Heavy snow and blowing snow will result in near blizzard conditions and zero visibility in lake effect bands. That's what we're dealing with right now. All right, this will continue into tonight. So luckily, people will be sleeping when this is all happening. So many of you guys are just, if you're out here on the Great Lakes coast of upstate New York, you're going to be waking up to most likely, anywhere from half a foot to 2 feet of snow. All right, travel will be difficult to impossible in snow bands. Blizzard conditions, guys, do not travel out there. If you are in Buffalo, just don't travel. All right, I know there's football games going on. I don't know if the Bills are playing. All right, but just don't travel, guys. It's too dangerous. You're gonna spin out, or you're just gonna be stranded on the side of the roads. All right, and it's just gonna be too hard, also for emergency services to get to, because those roads are gonna be really tough to plow. All right, and so it's just not good recipe. All right, but key points here: lake effect snow will develop today. That already has. most intense snows will be tonight and Sunday. So that basically means from now until I would say Sunday morning, that's when we're going to see the heaviest snow, and that's what we're dealing with right now. Strong winds will cause blowing snow through Sunday. I think we're going to be dealing with those very high gusts, and we actually do have some areas down here near Jamestown and Olean that are actually under high wind warnings. And you got bands will isolate impacting different locations at different times, basically meaning that uh, they're 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 isolated bands. They're independent bands, if you want to put it that way. They're separated rather than together like a normal winter storm. That's typical for a lake effect snow event. But let's get into totals here. I really want to talk about this. All right. So just keep in mind this. This was as of 3:30 a.m. EST. So we have already some of these totals on the ground. Not the entire total, but let's say up here near Watertown, you're going for 6 to 8 inches. There's probably about 2 to 4 inches on the ground right now. All right, so some of these totals aren't from now until the end of the event. So yeah, so this is just for the entire total of the event. We'll talk about here Buffalo. All right, this is for Buffalo Airport. We're going for 18 to 24 inches of snow. So right around 2 feet of snow is what you could expect. This is going to be very heavy snow, not only with those bands, but also just the snow on those surfaces. It's just going to be very heavy because of just how much it's going to mount up. But near Rochester, we're going for 2 to 3 inches. That could change because it's just very isolated. So if you get hit, it's going to be hit or miss. If you get hit by, 2 or 3 of those heavier bands of snow, you could double those totals. So you could go from 2 to 3 inches to 3 to 6 inches, maybe. All right. But 6 to 8 inches near, not sure where this is, Lockport. I'm not sure. Springfield going for 6 to 8 inches of snow. All right, but down here near Jamestown, Olean, and Wellsville, we're still dealing with those accumulating totals. But I really think I'll circle the area. It's really on the immediate coast here of the Great Lakes is where you're going to be dealing with the significant snow. So I think in this area, we're not going to see we're not going to see significant totals in that area. It's really the main focus, guys, is really for areas near like Buffalo and just well upstate New York. All right. But you can see now we're going up to well into upstate New York. This is where the big totals come out. We're going for Watertown, I believe, is going for six. Watertown might actually be going from 24 to 30 inches of snow. So I apologize, actually, guys. I did not think I mentioned Watertown going for a 6 to 8 inches earlier today. No, I think that is actually now 24 to 30 inches. So I apologize for making that mistake. So you guys actually will be dealing with feet of snow and most likely over 2 feet of snow. Now Lowville, all right, this is the area that's going to be seeing 6 to 8 inches. But notice it's very very close to going to 4 to 6 inches or 8 to 12 inches. So it's very close. All right. And then once again, some of these areas may see different totals. All right, some of them will be higher, some of them will be lower. It's just very isolated, so that also brings a challenge in the forecast. All right, so we look at now the NAM 3 kilometer model. We want to talk about just looking at here on the models, just looking at how heavy those bands will be and just where they set up. But also, we're going to be talking about at the same time snow squalls that can be moving through the Northeast. So, kind of two different, just two different things that we're going to be talking about for one region. All right. So, this was the story 2 p.m. today. We had our major winter storm moving out into Maine. This is bringing major impacts to Maine and way up into Atlantic Canada. But notice you've got an Arctic front coming in from the north. All right. This is pushing all that warm air and moisture out to sea, but you still got this low hanging up here just north of New York State. That's why we're seeing that snow. I think there's somewhere around here there's an upper level low, and that's what's got to be causing all this very heavy snow. But this was 5 p.m. today. We had a very heavy band of snow move through Buffalo. That's probably the one that brought thunder snow. You could see that continues for a few hours, and so we're still dealing with that, actually hanging around these two little stripes that you see of blue here. All right, that's heavy snow that's still moving through Buffalo, Watertown up here. All right, you're seeing those continuous bands of snow moving in. It's these little stripes that are those intense bands. I think that we're still going to see heavy snow all the way out to maybe Michigan. So I don't think Michigan's going to see, as high totals and as significant event from this system. All right. But you could definitely still see substantial totals, out there. But getting through tonight, this is tomorrow morning, so you're probably waking up right around now or at this time tomorrow morning. This is 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. You've got now everybody here, well upstate New York, the border of New York and Canada, right by the Great Lakes. This entire area is going to be seeing heavy snow from this one, probably the main band of snow. So you could be waking up to the thunder snow in places like Buffalo, Watertown, and maybe even as far east as Rochester. Now you also do see some lake effect snow starting to set up there into PA, and that could actually be the start of what could be your snow squalls. All right, so you've got this Arctic front. All right, at this point it's making its way down through the coastline, but you still got some temperatures that will actually begin to get a little bit higher just because of the afternoon and daytime temperatures. But the real cold air, the really rich, deep cold air is behind it. All this, the snow, it's with that snow. All right. And we're just gonna see that continue with those snow squalls. So this is 11 a.m. tomorrow. Now you could actually start to see those bands of snow from the Great Lakes have now persisted through the Northeast. Now they're approaching the coastline, but notice how they take on this very just sharp cutoff there of between, sunny skies and very heavy snow. That's where we see snow squalls. All right. So snow squalls, if you didn't know, snow squalls are about 10 to 15 minutes long. They're little periods of intense, like very, very heavy snow, which usually are accompanied by very strong winds. So in the worst case scenario, you get blizzard conditions, whiteout conditions, but they only last for 10 to 25 minutes. All right, this is what we're going to be seeing across southern New England. We can see by noon, or this is 2 p.m. actually, the NAM is supporting of some very heavy snow squalls going all the way down from Delmarva through southern New England. We could be dealing with a heavy snow squall moving through New York City. We see what as these continue, and yes, we see a little outburst of extremely heavy snow for areas of Connecticut, through portions of western Massachusetts, and then down through Long Island and New York City. We could definitely be going for maybe half an inch to an inch of snow as long as this just remains as a intense band of snow. I really just it's if the cold air can become ahead of this of the snowfall. I think that's what's going to decide how intense this is going to be, because this may come in as rainfall for some areas. The models are still trying to decide if that's going to happen, so some areas may see rain from this, but it may change over to snow. I don't know. It's going to be very close. But this will be a significant storm. Many out here will think that it's going to be a winter storm coming in, but it's going to be very quick. All right, you may not even notice it. You may be doing something with your window closed or whatever, and your blinds are blocking it. And then you take a break, and then you look outside, and you've got a fresh coating of snow on the ground. It's going to be very close, isolated, and it's going to be very quick. All right, we're getting to 3 p.m., 4 p.m., and you've just got these very intense little tiny pockets and outbursts of snow moving through southern New England. This will continue into the late afternoon, and then you may, in Boston, areas far east as Boston, you may be dealing with heavy snow right around dinner time, and then that moves out, but you still got snow for portions of the Great Lakes. All right, so we look at current projected snowfall totals here. I will take this out to when the system or just this event completely finishes. All right. So snow squalls just they aren't long enough to cause major totals here, and so this shouldn't be a surprise for any of you guys. All right. But we can definitely be dealing with anywhere from half an inch to an inch of snow for areas of eastern PA through areas of southern New England. NAM isn't really in support of an inch of snow in New York City, but I still think that there's a possibility for up to 1 to 2 inches in New York City, that in Long Island. But Long Island right now just going for 0.1 inches of snow. All right, same thing for northern New Jersey through southern New England. The NAM wants about an inch of snow in areas near Boston. All right, but I think this entire area is just going to see tomorrow. We're going to see some people will see whiteout conditions, just dangerous travel and very heavy snow for about 10-15 minutes, and then it's just going to go back to being a very nice day. But it's going to be very cold right after that comes in, and it's going to be weird. You're going to feel the difference. It's going to before this all snow comes in, it's going to feel abnormally warm, kind of like it was here in Long Island this morning. It was 55 degrees in Long Island this morning. It's going to still feel not as warm, but it's going to feel warm tomorrow morning. But then right after that snow comes in, that's when our Arctic front comes in, and boy, is it going to get cold. And we'll talk about that towards the end of the video, all right? So, that was your forecast for the Northeast. We still have one more region to cover before we just take a look at the entire United States for what's coming up. All right, we're talking about a big storm system a snowstorm that's going to be moving through the deep south. Winter weather lovers out here, I'm rooting for you guys, and I think you guys are going to hit a home run with this system because this may be the most significant winter storm of the season for some areas in the deep south. All right, and it's just it's pretty early, January, all right, but it's gonna happen, and it's not like a signal or anything. This will happen. We're in the short range. We're in the forecasting range for sure. All right, so look at this perfect setup here. You've got warm air, all right, but it's flattening out. The jet stream right now is flattening out before it kind of begins to move up off the coast. So you've got warm air, a little bit of a ridge here, just flattening out. All right, that's going to allow for cold air, that more substantial cold air. That's just going to set the stage for that just to flow and settle in. It's going to be this boundary of cold air is going to be perfectly set up. It's just going to be waiting for that snow to meet up with it. And so that's going to be definitely raising snow potential. And anybody behind this 540 line, which is where the cold front and the warm air be. And so you can see the cold air does not move an inch, and it stays in the exact same place. So as this is moving in, you deal with first, all right, heavy snow coming out of areas of eastern Oklahoma. This is now moving into northern Arkansas. So this is by 4 p.m. tomorrow. So late afternoon hours of tomorrow, it's going to start snowing very heavily in northern and central Arkansas. You've got some sleet and some, just sleet and freezing rain starting to move into areas of southwestern Arkansas and northeastern Texas. All right, and so we'll take this through the rest of the night. You've got heavy snow moving to southern Missouri into northern Arkansas, but notice how the system just continues to get more intense. Now we're getting to 10 p.m. so late night hours of tomorrow night here. All right, you can see we've got heavy snow moving to areas of Tennessee, southern Kentucky, northern Arkansas, still seeing that snow. But look at this. You got freezing rains and sleet starting to really take over that system. And we'll stop it here. All right. We'll stop it. This is the middle of the night. All right, tomorrow night into Monday. All right, and you have a ice storm. All right, you've got freezing rain and sleet starting to impact areas of southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana into eastern Texas. So, how does freezing rain work? Well, you've basically in this scenario, you've got warm air starting to come up here from the Gulf. You can actually see a little bit of that ridge starting to form. You've got warm air pumping into the system. That's what's keeping this going. All right, but it's that cold air that's just pushing down on the system. It's so intense, that cold air, because of this Arctic blast coming in. If you didn't have this cold air so intense, then you probably wouldn't be dealing with as much snow. But the cold air is going to be kind of weighing the system down. But anyways, so in the upper levels of the atmosphere, all right, this is how things work. In the upper levels of the atmosphere, you've got warm air, warm conditions, all right, or sorry, cold air. Apologize, all right. So this is going to start as snow. This is going to fall as snow in the upper elevations here, all right, and then as this gets to the midway point from the upper elevations to the ground level, this will change over to rain because you're going to see a boundary of warm air. All right, or not a boundary, but just a up in the sky, you're gonna have warm air. All right, so that's gonna change that snow over to rain. All right, so it's going to continue falling as rain on once it hits the ground, but the ground level we're gonna be below freezing. I'm telling you guys, in every single one of these areas, we're going to be at least below 30 degrees. All right, that's right where you need to be, right in the upper 20s. That's perfect for an ice storm. So you have freezing conditions on the ground level. So what happens when conditions are right is that rain is falling down because the snow has melted because you're at that midway point where you're seeing warmer conditions. It hits the ground, but it instantly freezes because the ground is below freezing. All right, that's where you got accumulations. So let's say you get freezing rain that accumulates to an inch. All right, or when you would have regular rain and you would receive about an inch of rain, that would lead to major ice totals. So that is basically how things work. So I apologize if I did not explain that in the best way, but we could see snow as far east as West Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee. I'm watching the system moving into the Northeast, bring a few inches of snow. We'll talk about that tomorrow if I can get an update in for you guys on that. All right, but yes, this will be moving through the deep South, and we still see that freezing rain and sleet and slush persist into northern Mississippi, northern Alabama. All right, and this turns over to freezing rain and then just spotty showers as the system moves out and kind of fizzles out in general. But when does the ice storm really just get going? I think it's going to be the early morning hours of Monday. All right, because this is the rest of today. This is tomorrow. We can see the heavy snow moving into western Tennessee, southern Missouri, and northern Arkansas, where those winter storm warnings are. Then that sleet on the south side comes into play, and then we get to Monday, and this is it's still hanging on to a pretty substantial winter storm for areas of the southeast. All right, so now we'll look at snowfall totals on the system, guys. All the models have been going hard on the system, not meaning that they're not raising the snowfall totals. They are putting the hammer down on these snowfall totals, and it's for areas off to the east. So I don't want to get you guys disappointed out here, all right? Because you're probably thinking, if you're in Arkansas and you are under a winter storm warning, you're probably out of your mind already, just because that happens like once a year, or sometimes it never happens. All right, and so you may be thinking like, oh, we're gonna see, like a foot of snow. Well, no, you're not gonna see that much snow, but you're still going to see substantial totals, probably 2 to 4 inches widespread. But some areas here you could see in these darker shades of blue, that's where you could see 4 to 6 inches of snow. That is plowable snow. This will cause travel delays. This is you'll have to shovel out the snow. All right, but it's not going to be that kind of major winter storm type. That's going to be the same for areas of eastern Oklahoma where we could see 4 to 6 inches, and then into southern Missouri. Kind of an easy forecast for you guys. 1 to 3 inches, what you could expect, with areas closer to Arkansas, farther south into the Boot Heel. Could see maybe higher totals, but it's into Tennessee where we could see the heaviest snow. All right, we could see definitely in the Smoky Mountains region. Actually, all right, we could actually see in this area these upper elevations of Tennessee into Virginia and then into Kentucky. It's in this pink shade. I'm watching for 6 to 8 inches of snow. That's a lot of snow, but for the rest of Tennessee, you're still going to be dealing with 4 to 6 inches in these darker shades of blue and then into that white. But right here, look at that, 9 inches. We just flashed 9 inches of snow right here for areas, near Knoxville. I think Knoxville actually might be off to the west there, but if you're close to the border of Tennessee and Kentucky, you could be dealing with, up to 10 inches of snow. That's definitely not in the picture, but up towards Kentucky and then extreme southeastern or southwestern Virginia, still similar totals of 8 to 10 inches. And that could prompt winter storm warnings, and that's going to be definitely plowable snow. You're going to have plows moving through and out of this entire area day and night. While the system is moving in. But for areas, the rest of Kentucky, you'll see 2 to 4 inches of snow. you could see similar totals all the way up to southern Illinois. So a pretty big area seeing just a nice winter storm. All right, this will cause problems, but I think that it's just going to be pretty nice for some areas. Just seeing a few inches of snow and kind of getting an early and rare. I wouldn't say rare because this does happen about once a year, but just not unusual, but just a nice winter storm in general. All right, so we look at ice totals too, because we saw that freezing rain, and if you were wondering if this was going to be intense, and it is. Some areas we can actually see, right here about up to a quarter of an inch of ice going all the way from southern Mississippi through Alabama, then up through northwestern Georgia, and you can see extreme eastern Tennessee. That's where we could see in these pink shades definitely over 0.15 inches of ice. That's enough to kind of weigh down those branches a little bit. I don't think we're going to see power outages. All right, but if you see a quarter of an inch of ice, that's where you could have a power outage risk. Maybe some small branches may break off. Icicles will hang from rooftops here, but watching for Tennessee and Alabama to see maybe some significant ice totals, but nothing, nothing like half an inch to an inch. That would be a lot more significant. But this will definitely still bring a substantial ice storm for some of these areas. All right, so we look at the Northeast now. On the Northeast side of things, I think I did actually say we were going to be talking about this tomorrow. Well, we're actually going to be talking about it today. All right, so we got that big storm system moving through the south. Now it's going to be coming up to the Northeast. We're looking at the NAM 12-kilometer model, so we can go out the full full 84 hours out. So there's that snow squall moving through southern New England. And then here comes your system. It comes in, all right, it's not that intense, but you got moderate to heavy snowfall moving through areas of West Virginia, Kentucky, through southern Ohio. This may enter Delmarva and maybe DC as a nice little band of snow, and this continues to move up in the Northeast. And this is by Monday around 4 p.m. You could be dealing with snow south of New York City, so impacting areas of the I-95 corridor. All right, and that kind of just hangs around as a little coastal storm, just a stripe of snow for southern New England all the way down through Virginia and West Virginia. I think this entire area may actually be dealing with snowfall Monday into Monday night. Now, Tuesday, things get interesting. This low may redevelop. All right, and if it forms a coastal low, it pops off coastal low here. That's where we could be dealing with a more of a major winter storm. Some of the models have been agreeing with that, and the NAM actually is in support of that. So we're getting into Tuesday. This is 4 p.m. Tuesday, and now you've got an all-out winter storm for New York City, Long Island areas, all along the I-95 corridor, Boston, and everybody is seeing a winter storm. And, we end the run on Wednesday. This is the middle of the night, Tuesday and Wednesday. We end the run on a good note for snow lovers out here. Heavy snow impacting portions of the coastal Northeast, all right? So that's something to watch. That's something that we'll continue to watch in the next coming days. But what's dangerous is this, all right? So that cold blast, that historic Arctic blast is finally here. We've been anticipating this for, weeks now. And it's finally here, the big cool down of January. Here it comes, all right? So you've already got, these are your wind chills, by the way, all right? So this is not your actual temperature. These are your wind chills. So this is basically what it's feeling like right now. Your freezing line, it's right here. That's very far south. You've got substantial cold air coming, just flowing right down, easily flowing down, and it's very, very strong. But look at these wind chills, guys. And remember, these are gusty winds right now because you've still got blizzard warnings up for, areas of Iowa and South Dakota. Negative 51 degrees. It feels like 50 degrees below zero out here. This is life-threatening cold. If you are not out here in, like 3-4 layers, if you have less than 3-4 layers out here and you're out here for 5-10 minutes, you're going to get hypothermia, frostbite. It's very, very dangerous, and your body can't handle that much intensity with that cold air. All right, I know you guys have handled a lot out there in the upper Midwest, but it's guys, this is just one of those really strong ones, and we're already dealing with in areas like St. Louis. and the rest of the Midwest, we're still dealing with real fuels getting down well below 0 degrees, and we're still seeing the Arctic air move into areas as far east as the Northeast. But notice how that cold air continues to come in. It gets even stronger up here to North Dakota, where we're right around negative 50 degrees for your real field temperatures. But that cold air really digs down farther south. That's setting the stage for that snowstorm. And here it comes. This could enter Tennessee with real feels in the 20s. Look at this. In Oklahoma and Texas, some areas of Oklahoma may see real feels down around negative 15 degrees. Texas getting right around 0 degrees for some areas. DFW at this point, we're getting to early morning hours of tomorrow. We're waking up tomorrow in Dallas Fort Worth area, and it's gonna feel like 0 degrees. All right, very cold air coming in, and this is why we call it an Arctic outbreak. Because if you look, the entire northern and central just tier of the country, this entire area of the country here, all right, we'll be waking up to well below freezing temperatures, and some people will see wind chills well below 0 degrees. All right, but we're still going to be waking up to very cold conditions as far east as the Northeast, and this continues to come in, and this just pours in, and it's just a continuous stream of cold air. You can see it's like breathing. All right, it's just a continuous supply of cold air. This is the polar vortex at its best. At its best. All right. So we'll look at the North American side of things, and you can see the pattern. It's completely favorable for this. The polar vortex completely opened up. This is your polar vortex right here, where this H is. All right, the polar vortex. You always have cold air in this area. Right now, the polar vortex is dipping and spilling into the west and the north. That is your polar vortex right now. This is a weak polar vortex, believe it or not. All right. And a strong polar vortex. The reason why this isn't a strong polar vortex is because the strong polar vortex is more intense. All right. That's one thing, but that also means that it's more sustained. It stays in one place and it's built strong. That high pressure usually gets stronger, but this is a weak one. And usually when this gets weak, that the jet stream becomes very wavy because the polar vortex is not sustained, and it starts to spill and dip into the most commonly the northern United States, and that's what we're seeing here with just incredible temperature anomalies. The temperature anomalies on the GFS one time were like negative, sorry, 40 degrees below historical average, and that was for like North Dakota. So that's crazy, guys. It's just going to be very cold, guys, and we'll see how long this lasts. We're getting pretty far out. We still got rounds of cold air coming in, so this may last for weeks, guys. Not as intense cold air late in the week, but we're still just going to be dealing with continuous rounds of below average temperatures before our focus shifts over to the eastern west, where I think the Arctic air will kind of spill into that region there. All right, so that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video. So yeah, thank you all for watching tonight's video. It's been a little bit of a long one, but you got very active conditions or very active storms coming up. You've got 3 storms, one in the northeast, you've got one in the deep south, and one in the west, and then you've just got this Arctic air that's coming in. We'll go over your real field temperatures we'll look at your current temperatures right now, just before we get through tonight. So these are your actual temperatures, guys. All right. And so, right now, it's about negative 20 degrees for areas of the north central United States. And we're actually already below freezing for areas right by the DFW area. Midwest is already well below freezing. St. Louis right around 20 degrees. But just notice as that 32-degree line, it continues to push farther south into the eastern U.S. I like to take a look at Florida in these big events just to see if the cold air can make it that far. I really like looking at that. I just think it's interesting, and we see what happens there. This actually reaches the Gulf Coast. We actually can see we're at 28 degrees on the Gulf Coast of Louisiana, but Florida still at a balmy 60, 70 degrees. Miami chilling at 70 degrees. Lucky. All right. But I like the cold weather. It's pretty awesome, especially with snowfall. All right. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for coming to watch. and I'll keep you guys posted on whatever happens weather-wise across the country. So thank you all for coming to watch this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.